Okay, I said in the previous one that we were going to finish off our drag and drop when we got to this episode, and that is exactly what we're going to do. The first thing though I want to change is the fact that our inventory is just on the screen. We want to be able to toggle that. So in your content drawer, search for your WBP HUD and open that up. Your inventory, you're going to set it to be hidden, and then you're going to go and search for your third person character or your player character. And here I'm going to do keyboard B. You can use the new input mapping system, but I'm not going to do it for now. It should be very simple enough though. You just make one of these and add it there. That is literally all you have to do. We can actually do it just for the sake of this video. I'm going to go into actions, and then you right click and you make it an input action. I'm going to call it IA underscore toggle inv. Get it on the right monitor, and then that is going to be just staying as it is, because it's basically just an on or off, right? You go back into your IMC default, and in here you're also going to add your mapping. So IA toggle inv, and then I'm going to do B for me. I'm going to save that. Now inside my third person character, I could call my toggle inv. If you do triggered, that's going to just spam it when you have it pressed, so I'm going to put it on started. Let's go into our functions, create a new function on our third person character. I'm going to call this one my toggle inventory. I'm going to get my HUD. I'm going to get my inventory. And then I'm going to get visibility of that inventory. And I can switch on the visibility. If we are visible, I want to set ourselves to be hidden. And if we are hidden, I want to set it to be visible. Now I also want to get player controller in here, and then set input mode, hang on, how do you fucking type anymore? I don't know. Set input mode game only on the hide, and then set show mouse cursor to be false on that one as well. Now on the other one, I want to set input mode to be game and UI. And the UI widget that I want to focus is the WP inventory. Let us actually copy that down here so it looks a little bit better. I do not want to hide the cursor, and then I also want to set show mouse cursor to be true. And that's our toggle. Now we can go into our event graph, and on started, you can now paste your toggle inventory. Let us set up the drag and drop. So in order to do that, first of all, we're going to just kill this third person character. I'm just going to leave it there. And we are going to go into our AB folder, systems, inventory systems, interface, and our WBP inventory slot. On the graph, we can now override on mouse button down. Here I am going to make a new variable. I'm going to call it MB for mouse button, and it's going to be of type key. And we will use that later on. In here we are going to set it though. So on mouse event, we're first going to promote that to local mouse event, like so. And then we want to get our local mouse event and check if is mouse button down. We want to check if the left mouse button is down, and we can branch this. If left mouse button is down, then we want to set our MB to be left mouse button. And then we want to validate this slot that we're in. We're just going to make a new function for that. I'm going to call it validate slot. It's going to be a pure function. It's going to be very simple. It's going to have an output of valid, and we are all going to get the item info at this index basically. Have we made that function yet? No, we haven't. So let's go into our AC inventory component and create a new function. This function is going to be called get item info at index. It's also going to be a pure function. It's going to have an input of an integer, which is going to be an index. We're going to have output of item and quantity. Item is of course our master item. Now we can promote this to local index, and now we can get the item info at the array index of the local index. Get the contents. You can split this open and plug in the pins accordingly. Now over on inventory slot now, we can get item info at index, and we can check if it's a valid class or not. That is our validate slot. If it is a valid slot, we want to go into here. Now you got your validate slot. If it's not valid, you can return with a handled. However, if it is valid, then we are going to get our local mass event, and we go to detect drag if pressed, and the drag is of course our left mouse button, and return like so. That is it for our on mouse button down. Now we want to go into our on drag detected. Now on drag detected, we need to make a widget. So inside our drag drop, you can now right click, create, go to blueprint class, and search for drag drop operation. Got to call it inventory drag drop. Now inventory drag drop is going to have some inputs. First one is going to be our inventory ref, which is going to be a AC inventory component. It's going to be exposed and editable. Now you can control D to duplicate that, and you're going to have a index, which is going to be an integer. Control D to duplicate. Actually, control D again before we change this one. So this is going to be master item, aka item. And the class is going to be master item class, or the type anyway. And the last one is going to be quantity. Now I'm also going to make a function for this, and it's going to be just get drag details. And this is just going to make life simpler later. It's going to output the 4 things that we just made. So it's going to have a inventory component. It's going to have a integer. It's going to have a master item. And it's going to have another integer. And we're going to call them inventory ref, index, item, and quantity. And we're just simply just going to plug these into the corresponding nodes. And that's just going to make life a little bit easier down the road. Remember to set this as a pure function. Now we got our drag drop sorted like that. Now we can go into our drag drop again, and we can right click and create a new widget. This is going to be WBP inventory dragged item. You can open that up. Inventory dragged item is going to start off by being the side on screen, and then we're going to size box that. This size box is going to be variable. We're going to call it our size box. We can height and width override that. And then we can add a canvas to that size box. Inside of this canvas, we're going to add a image. And we're going to call this image our dragged item icon. I'm going to size that to content, and I'm going to change the image size to 64 by 64. Then I'm going to add a text into this canvas. I'm going to call this our dragged item quantity. I'm going to dock that to the bottom right by holding shift and control. I'm going to size that to content. I'm going to make it variable. I'm going to change it to regular to maybe 12 in size, actually 14 in size. And I'm just going to leave it as is. Now we can go into the graph and we can make some variables. Now the first variable we're going to have is a dragged widget, which is going to be a user widget. Exposed and editable. Select it and duplicate it. Then we're going to have an item, which is going to be master item. Duplicate that. Can't do it. Control C, Control V. And we're going to want quantity, which is of course an integer. Now you can remove the pre-construct and the tick. And now we can get our size box. And we can set width override. And then we can also set height override to be that of the dragged widget, desired size. X goes into width, Y goes into height. We're also going to get the dragged item icon and set brush from texture. The texture, of course, comes from our defaults of our item. So get the class defaults and plug in the icon. The quantity, dragged item quantity, you can type in set text And now we want to do a format text. And I'm going to do X, curly bracket, num, curly bracket. And that's going to be our quantity. Go to your inventory slot, and now on drag detected, you can create widget. Widget you want to create is the one that we just made, so inventory dragged item. Now the dragged widget is ourself, and the dragged item, so we're going to get item info index from our inventory ref. The item is the item and the quantity is the quantity. Then you want to create drag drop operation like so. You want to create our inventory drag drop. Now the inventory ref and the index is very simple. It's just our inventory ref and our index. The item and the quantity comes from the get item info index. The visuals is the inventory is the widget we created. The pivot should be mouse down, and that is it. Now I also want to remove the items from the slot that we are dragging when we are picking it up. So let us do that. Let us head into our AC inventory component, and we have a get item info index, but we want to set item info index as well. It's going to have an input. Actually, it's going to have 3 inputs. First one is going to be an integer, which is our index. Second one is going to be a master item class, which is going to call it item, and then quantity, which is the integer. You can promote these to locals. Well, actually, only the index should be needed, local index. And then you can get your inventory contents, set array element. The index is the local. You split open the item. Now you want to get your slot refs, and you want to get a copy at the local index that we have, and you want to update that slot. We do not have that function yet, so let's go make it. Inside of inventory slot, you go into your event graph, and in here we're just gonna right click custom event and call it update slot. Now update slot, we're gonna start off by validating. Do we actually have anything in here? Then we want to get our item icon, set visibility to be hidden if we are not valid. We also want to get the item quantity and set it to be hidden. However, if we are valid, then we want to get our item icon, set brush from texture. The texture comes from the item info. So get your inventory ref, get item info index. Index is our index, like so. You can get the defaults of the item, split that open, and then plug in the icon. Now the item quantity, we're going to set text. You're going to format this text to be x curly bracket num curly bracket, and we're going to get the quantity like so. Then we want to change the visibility to not hit testable self only. That is our update slot. While we are here, we are also going to make our another custom, which is update hotkey. Update hotkey is quite simple. We are going to check if hotkey is a valid key. And if hotkey is a valid key, if hotkey is not a valid key, we want to set hotkey text, set visibility, get hotkey text, set visibility rather, set it to be hidden. However, if it is, then we want to set that text like so. And we're going to get our hotkey key display name and plug it in like so. Then we want to set the visibility to be not hit testable self only. Now we can go back to our AC inventory component and we can call our update slot that we just created. And then we can return. This is going to enable us to set the item info and update the slot. So if we now go to drag detected, there we go. So now we want to get our item, set item info index that we just created. This is on drag detected, by the way. You want to set the index of us to be blank. because we are dragging it away, right? And we can plug it in like so. We do not have a way to test this yet because we don't have any items. So let us go into our third person character. And I'm going to do keyboard 1. Drag out my inventory. I'm going to set item info. Add index. I'm going to do index 0, so it's going to be the first slot. I need a item as well. Let's go to AB, Systems, Inventory System, and right click me your master item. I'm going to call this one my BP dummy 1. I'm going to make a folder called item, and I'm going to move dummy 1 into there. Dummy 1 is going to have this as a texture. It's not going to be stackable. I actually do need to add 1 though, like so. Oh, dummy 1. There we go, sorry. Now we have a dummy 1 and we can drag it up. Unfortunately, that took a bit longer than anticipated, so let us just end it here and continue in the next one. Remember to like the video if you found it helpful and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.